Today we're going to create a barrel. Make sure you first name it correctly. So it will be barrel dash and then your full name and then click save. We're going to start by adding a cylinder. So click on cylinder. You can resize it using the scale button. And then move it on top of the grid. Don't worry about the exact size. Just scale it a little bit so you can see it a little bit bigger. Press F to zoom in on the cylinder. Now we need to make a few changes to the properties to get a smoother barrel and to actually make it look like a barrel. From the properties panel, change the height segments to 8. So properties, height segments. If you don't see anything happening, make sure you go to realistic and show edges. And then you can continue 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There you go. Now you can see them. Still from the properties, let's change the height to 1.4. And then let's change the top and bottom radius to 0.6. And let's add more radio segments. Let's make it 35. This will create a smoother shape for the barrel. And again, make sure the barrel is on top of the grid, so just move it up on top of the grid. Now we're going to change the shape of the cylinder so it looks more like a barrel. From the tools panel, so here, let's click on taper. Now from the properties panel, let's change the amount to -0.4. There you go. You can mess around with the curve, but 0.5 should be okay. So just the amount to -0.4 and curve stays as 0.5. Now we are going to design the top of the barrel by selecting the top faces of the barrel. Rotate the barrel until you can see the top. So make sure you are able to see the top. Select face mode. Select one of the top faces. And then from the tools panel, scroll down and select faces by angles less than 15. And that will select all the faces on the top of the barrel. Now we're going to select the insert tool to add a new set of faces. So let's click insert, and that adds a new set of faces on top of the barrel. Now we need to create the edge of the barrel by changing the offset to -0.021. So under properties, we go here and then change it to -0.025, enter, and there we go. So now we created that edge all the way around the top of the barrel. Now we are going to select the bevel tool to push the selected faces into the object. So let's click bevel. So now we need to change the properties of the bevel to push the selection in. So from the properties panel, change the length to -0.06. So -0.06, enter. And then change segments to 1. And then change offset to -0.025. Deselect the barrel by clicking anywhere on the grid. So now we can see that we have created the top of the barrel. Now let's remove the edges so we can appreciate how the barrel actually looks. So let's click realistic and then show edges, and there we go. We can see how our barrel looks. Now we're going to apply material like this to the barrel. just so we can apply different textures to it. Make sure face mode is selected, and let's select one of the top edges of the barrel. From the tools panel, scroll down and select faces by angles less than 15, and then click the grab button 3 times so we can select the entire top of the barrel. With the top of the barrel still selected, change the material ID box to 1. So here, material ID, make sure it's set to 1, and then click set ID. And we can see now that we have, for this barrel, we have 0 and 1 for the IDs. Click outside to deselect. Rotate your barrel so you can see the bottom of the barrel. Click one of the bottom faces and then click select faces by angles less than 15 so we can select the entire bottom of the barrel. Now change material ID to 2 and click set ID button. Okay, that it's completed. Now we have all the material IDs that we need. Going to rotate it back. Now it's time to add the actual texture. So let's click on the Explorer tab and let's add our textures. So right now material library is empty. Download the images from Google Classroom and add them to the Explorer. So you'll need barrel bottom, barrel texture, and barrel top. You need to download them and drag and drop them into the Explorer. They will appear underneath the material library section. Now we need to create a multi-ID first. So right click on material library, go to new, and then select multi-ID. Name the multi-ID barrel. Now let's create 3 standard materials for our 3 images. So right click on material library, select new, and then standard. Go ahead and name that one barrel underscore texture. And then under diffuse, from the image box, go ahead and select barrel texture. Now let's create the second standard material. Right click on material library, go to new, standard. Let's name that barrel underscore top. And then under diffuse, from the image box, go ahead and select barrel top. Let's create our third and last material. Right click on material library, go to new, standard. Name it barrel underscore bottom. And then under the diffuse section, from the image box, select barrel bottom. Now we need to apply those 3 standards to the barrel multi-ID. So click on the barrel multi-ID, and then for material ID 0, which is pretty much the entire barrel except the top and the bottom, we'll change that to barrel texture. Material ID, we'll change that to top, barrel top, and material ID 2, change it to barrel bottom. Now that we have applied the 3 standard materials to our 3 IDs, we could just grab the barrel multi-ID and drop it on top of our barrel object. And then you'll see right away the change. Now we need to fix the top and the bottom of the barrel. As you can see, it's not a nice fit. Now let's switch back to tools. Let's click on face mode and let's scroll down and select material ID 1 and then click select ID to select the entire top of the barrel. Now let's click Ubmap button. Once you click the Ubmap button, let's go back to the properties panel and let's scroll down to to auto fit button and go ahead and press it 1. That will auto fit perfectly the top image for the top of the barrel. And let's click outside. Let's click on the grid so we can actually see, and then we can see that it is a perfect fit. Now let's rotate it so we can see the bottom, and let's do the same thing. Change to material ID 2 first, and then click select ID to select the bottom of the barrel. Let's click Ubmap button once, and then let's, from the properties, let's scroll down to auto fit again. Click it once, and that will fix it automatically for you. So let's rotate. Let me switch back to object mode. So click outside first, click on the object, and then you can just move the barrel up, and then you can rotate it. Change to selection mode. Rotate it. If the grid is in your way, you can go ahead and press G to hide the grid, and then you can rotate it, and you can see how your barrel looks all completed. To bring the grid back, just press G again. Okay, you are done with the barrel project.